next question. This one's quite relevant, I think, for maybe viewers who aren't Catholic, or maybe Protestant, or atheist, or agnostic. It is for someone who's exploring whether God exists or not, whether the Catholic faith is true or not. Would you recommend them to prayer? And if so, what kind of prayer would it be? And what does that mean for them?
Jesus, he did that, right? He would use parables to connect with people. Also, St. Paul, he said, when I would teach the Jews, I would, teach them in the way that they know. The Gentiles, the same thing. So connecting whatever they're interested in teaching, like bringing from Christianity what is there, and it's what they're interested in. St. John as well, because when he wrote the Gospel in Greece, I think he wanted to do it for that audience, and they're familiar with the philosophical side. That's why I think in his prologue he does it in that way, because he's also trying to connect with that audience. So similar, I think.
I'm actually recalling your story with the hat. When you told me about when you were coming to faith in Jesus, you said to me about, you said a prayer or something. And then,
with the hat?
The hat. So somebody came, you asked them for a sign or something. And then,
oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, no, I just remembered what you mean. So I wanted, I had a period of doubt, shall we say, that who I was praying to was really Jesus. And I thought, there's this common belief that different religions are all the same, and that, they're really all the same God. And I said, God, Jesus, I want to know for certain that this is you that I'm praying to. So I gave him some kind of scenario, and they say you shouldn't test God. It wasn't really like a test, but it was more like, I just want to know. So I was going to go to this Christian worship evening where different churches were getting together to worship and pray. And I said, okay, God, when I go to this worship evening today, I'm going to wear this grey hat. And I just made up a scenario. I said, some boy in a blue shirt will take the hat off my head if this is the God that I'm praying to is you, Jesus. And so I went to this worship night, and then afterwards we all had a meeting downstairs. All the youth sort of met together, and I was sat down, and my friend, somebody that I knew actually, was wearing a blue shirt, and he playfully ran around and took the hat off of my head. And I was like, okay. and yeah, I think that was just, I kind of wasn't expecting Jesus to answer, but he did, and I was like, wow, okay, this is awesome. Yeah, so
I love that, hearing the two things, because it's I think there's a build up to that kind of prayer, isn't it? And I went through some of the thing. I actually prayed my prayer kind of twice. The first one was oh God, can't you just show yourself? And he didn't, and I was really really mad with him. And then the second time, I actually came with humility. So I was actually really genuinely interested, because I think a lot of those prayers can be it's basically just saying, I don't believe you exist, and this is what would convince me otherwise. It's not really a kind of I could be really wrong, I like that, and it just shows that God is actually quite willing to. He's extremely willing to have a relationship with everybody, isn't he? So I feel like there's only something that would stop that, and I'm quite interested what you're saying is that kind of breaking down that kind of those barriers and the misconceptions and stuff. I don't know if you've had any experiences like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many things that happen that you just can't really call them coincidence anymore. Of course, so many, I can't even list them. There's not one that just sticks out. It's nearly every day something happens. It's just.
So it sounds like for somebody who doesn't believe there's that God is very open to reveal himself, but there's also some work to be done before that, so it can be free to actually want that.